My name is Joris Peels, and this is another edition of 3D Printing News Unpeeled, thanks to 3dprint.com. So today we've learned of the Aston Martin Valiant. The Aston Martin Valiant is a very limited edition car. Only 38 units worldwide. They're all sold out should you wish to have one, and our guess is that they're going to be on the pricier end of the spectrum. The original idea for this is that it was a car that Fernando Alonso kind of wanted or was involved with on the development. He wanted like a lightweight racing car that was road legal, that you could do things with on the road, take long treks with maybe, and also use as a track car. So it has a roll cage inside of it, all sorts of racing type features, and it's a very limited edition, very kind of exclusive car as well. It's based on the Valor. It's called the Valiant. It was made by the customization team at Aston Martin, so they're called the Q by Aston Martin. And basically what they did in this case, they went very, very far because they made a 3D printed rear subframe that keeps the same strength and stability for the car, but makes the car several kilos, about 3 kilos lighter. And I would have expected that to be more, actually, to be honest. I think it's really weird that if you would make the whole subframe with additive manufacturing, which would be very, very costly, I would assume that you would be able to gain more from that subframe assembly. But okay. What they also did, they had custom magnesium wheels, lots of carbon fiber everywhere, and yeah, it's a very, very beautiful car that you'll probably never see on the road, but hey, will probably come up for auction for several $1 million or something at one point. And that is the reason why this is important for us. For additive manufacturing right now is used sparingly in automotive, right? It's used in certain cases where you have a particular component in the car, you know, say on a Golf. There's millions of Golfs, obviously, Volkswagen Golfs. But each one of them is quite different. Each one of them could be completely unique, in fact, because there's so many customization options. So in some cases, it would be advantageous to add a 3D printed component for a customization option that very few people have, a combination that very few people have. And that's how additive makes it onto like production cars. Now, beyond that, it's being used in supercars and racing cars as well. And it's now kind of trickling down, I guess, into kind of the more rarefied world of the hypercar, kind of the custom kind of high-end cars. And these are very, very, very profitable cars. They're also kind of halo cars for the brand, where Aston Martin can make a lot of news and maybe get a lot of attention with this car, and maybe sell a lot of regular Aston Martins off the back of that. It's basically a free marketing thing for them. But what is different than before is before companies would pay millions of dollars to make a concept car and then use it to sell a lot of Renault Clios, and maybe also, kind of show the design direction of the brand. Now they're doing something much more immediate. They're making a road legal car that actually works, that's in low volume, and they're selling them sometimes for several $100,000. Rolls-Royce has had a series of cars for $3 to $4 million per car. So these prices of these things are really, really going up. Only a few years ago, the first Bugatti models that came out when Bugatti relaunched, they were being sold at a loss, right? They're being sold for $1 million, a lot of money for a car, but they actually cost maybe $3, maybe $4 million. But it turns out now that all the way Volkswagen could have sold these cars for $3 to $4 million, because there is a market out there, very, very rich car collectors that are willing to spring that much money, that have that much money for such creations. And they invest in them, if you will, because they're rare, and they hope that it will fetch even more money in the future, or because they're these people that have more money than they know what to do with, and $4 million for them is not going to really affect them that much. So a lot of other people have now caught on that they can actually profitably sell cars for several $100,000 to several $1 million in very limited editions. And that's where 3D printing comes in. We are perfect for limited edition cars. We are perfect for small series. We are perfect for small tweaks and additions. So what we're seeing now is a lot of these small series, like the Cadillac Celestiaq is another version of this, or Cadillac is showcasing a lot of really, really new technologies, just like normally you would do on a concept car. But they're doing this in a car they're selling. It's going to be on the road. It's going to propagate the Cadillac brand. So instead of going to an auto show and looking at this really cool Cadillac and say, oh wow, that's where they're going 5 years from now, you can see where they're going, let's say 2 to 3 years from now on the road. One of these cars is going to be very rare. There's a couple hundred of those, but you could see it on the road or at your local kind of normal car meetup where some enthusiast would have that car, and it would then kind of sell the Cadillac brand and their future vision and luxury in that case. But they can now make money off of them. So this is the fantastic thing, and that's just for us, it's great. We know that Audi, Porsche, Mercedes, Bentley, and a bunch of other companies are using 3D printing in customization. So you can go in and you can say, hey, I want a particular air conditioning grill. I want a particular kind of shape on my thing. And all that stuff is custom. Like in the, you can do custom, like I want green or blue. Or you can do super custom at companies like Bentley, where you can just go in and say, hey, I want a copper steering wheel or whatever crazy stuff, and they can make it for you. And for them, they are turning to 3D printing increasingly to make these custom parts, which is wonderful. And now that is expected to trickle down more in mass customized cars. So the release of this car, there's only 38 cars. It's not going to change the world. There's only 38 kind of 3D printed parts on this car. That's also not going to change the world. But at the same time, eventually this is going to become more and more, more and more visible. But this is the beautiful thing. This could be profitable right now thanks to 3D printing. That's the big difference. That rather than having to invest in something that maybe won't pay off for you for a decade or something, they can now sell these cars, which they otherwise would not be able to make these unique components to sell them. They can now make them cost effectively with 3D printing. So that's a really good idea. Now, where they will go with these chassis components, whether it makes sense to make these things, what technology, reportedly they're powder bed fusion, maybe it makes a lot more sense to make these things out of a new technology, Formalloy kind of stuff, or other DED type variants, which seem to be much more likely to hit the price points that they're used to, and much more likely to build, the whole chassis component or a lot of that. So that could be very exciting as well. Anyway, the next bit of news is from Pablo de León. He's a University of North Dakota Department of Space Studies professor. And he has basically developed a system to manufacture spacesuits. The idea is to use a robot arm or other kind of 3D printing device to combine flexible and less flexible, rigid, and all these polymers to make an entire spacesuit out of 3D printing and to repair that. And also to make things in and around the spacesuit. Now, the thing about this is that he got a patent for this, and we'll link the patent. And I don't know what to think about this. So on one hand, it's great that this guy did some work on 3D printed spacesuits. To us, the idea, of course, printing a spacesuit is very, very logical. There's nothing really that exciting about you doing it. There's nothing that non-obvious about you doing this instead of, printing a firefighter suit or a wetsuit for diving. Out of this, he did do some things that seemed like that could be interesting, but the idea of getting a patent for something like this, so this guy seems to be doing the work and doing the research and stuff, so that's wonderful. But on the other hand, to patent something like to 3D print a spacesuit, to me seems very, very limiting and very, very kind of likely to kind of push us into to slowing down the growth in that area. And reportedly did this all for NASA's funding as well, so now NASA kind of has to work with this patent, even though NASA gave him the money to do a lot of this research. I'm a bit kind of worried about this, actually, to be honest. Anyway, my name is Joris Peels. This is another edition of 3D